This is how Hamas sympathizers start yelling at facts. Watch this.
So who ran Gaza up until 2005?
Same thing.
No, Israel did. Israel used to occupy the Gaza Strip. 10,000 Jews left Gaza. The IDF totally withdrew. Why did Israel do that?
You tell me, you're the one at the table.
To pursue peace, because they were promised a peace deal if they got out of Gaza.
And then?
Then Hamas took over as mayor of Gaza, and it's now a hot tub for terrorists, where there are thousands of rockets every single month.
Where was the peace that happened after they withdrew?
Exactly. Israel signed a peace accord, and the PA violated it.
But
So this is the way peace.
occupying territory.
They weren't occupying; they got out.
But you just said Israel occupied that territory.
Correct.
In Gaza until they got out. So that's not.
No, but they got out on a condition of peace. So they said, we will get our 10,000 Jews out of Gaza. So 10,000 Jews used to live in Gaza.
Failed to recognize that they were occupying someone's territory, and that's
Well, so who is Gaza's territory? Whose is that?
It's Palestinian.
Egypt. It's been Egypt's for 2,000 years. Okay. So since you understand this, maybe, how did Israel win back that territory?
Sinai deal.
Right. So in the 1967 war, they pushed back Egypt all the way to their borders, and so they gave up the Sinai Desert in pursuit of peace with Egypt. That worked.
That worked.
So then they kept the occupation of Gaza, which there's factories and rolling hills and vineyards, a lot of wealth there. There's 2 million people that live in Gaza, more or less. 10,000 Jews lived on the eastern skirt of Gaza. So in pursuit of peace, in the 2005 peace talks, Israel said, you know what? We want peace, and as a condition, we'll get out if you guys have real peace with us. Stop launching rockets, stop building terror tunnels, stop killing our children, all these sorts of things. Are you pro-Hezbollah or?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, happy to.
What formal education do you have?
Plenty.
I mean, formal education. There's like a
If you're going to argue from authority, that's a logical fallacy. Tell me why I'm wrong. Don't tell me how many degrees you have.
Don't ask me to change the conversation.
I'm actually,
What formal education
I would argue I'm more informed because I didn't go to college, and I've traveled the world, and I've met with world leaders, and I've read many books. So tell me,
oppressive to a lot of minorities that you've met around the world.
how am I oppressive? Can you name one example of how I'm oppressive?
I can name a lot of examples.
Can you name one?
but I'm not
Name one
sure.
example of how I'm oppressive because you just
You are
said it.
literally here telling people that they are wrong about views and their
Well, no, they just don't have facts. Can you tell me one time that I've been wrong about anything I've said? Tell me a time that Israel has launched an offensive war.
to
You-
Lebanon.
They
Where was
didn't.
there?
They're attacking Hezbollah. It's within their
It
borders.
was to Lebanon. They don't just attack.
Hezbollah occupies southern Lebanon, which is Iranian funded, is it not?
Really? I had no idea. Thank you for informing me.
Anytime.
That is
Maybe if you
so-
didn't go to college, you would learn more.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right.
Here's the thing. But like IDF is a terrorist organization.
How is the IDF is a terrorist organization?
Yeah. No, according to a lot of people.
Wait, hold on a second. The
Maybe
ID.
not me, but like a lot of countries around.
Why is it that they haven't built a new school or hospital in the last 5 years? Hundreds of millions of dollars pour into Gaza. It's because Hamas runs Gaza right now, and they're a terrorist organization. So Israel got out of Gaza in 2005 in the pursuit of peace. 10,000 Jews were actually forced out of their homes in the pursuit of peace. Gaza got more dangerous. It became a hot tub for terrorists. You know where Hamas's money is being spent? On terror tunnels and rockets being shot towards Tel Aviv. Where were those 2 rockets shot 2 weeks ago out of? They were shot out of Gaza. Yeah, 2 rockets. Oh, what's the big deal? Yeah, who cares when Jews have rockets shot at them, right? Because Israel is fighting a defensive right for its own national sovereignty. All Israel has done since 1967 is go backwards. All Israel has done.
The UN sent an Asian diplomat, I forget his name exactly what it was, to go investigate crimes against humanity in Gaza. Israel did not allow him to enter Gaza because they said his visa wasn't valid, and that was published in an Israeli newspaper.
Okay, so I'll have to look into that. If that's the case, then I'll say that you're correct. But
I have a lot of respect for that answer right there, by the way. I'm going to stop this. We're going to go right back into it in a second because this is great. But because he doesn't know and he hasn't seen it, he says, I have to look into it. And if you're right, you're right. This is why these kinds of people are allowed to talk about this. And who cares what his degrees are? He's traveled the world. He's gone to I've been saying over and over and over, if you want to talk about any conflict in the world, if you want to talk about the Middle Eastern conflict, come to Israel. These college students at UConn or wherever he is, they have no idea what they're talking about. And they're arguing with somebody who's traveled the world, who's gotten so much from just experiencing people and culture and being able to look people in the eye and ask them what their life is like versus a college textbook in academia, which is not even close to what an on-the-ground, boots-on-the-ground reality is.
Well, here's the question, though. So Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East right now. They're practicing democracy. Muslims, Jews, and Christians. Well, they can. Hold on a second. First of all, many Palestinians in Palestinian Authority, that is in Zone B, not Zone A, can vote in elections. Secondly, here's the question: you want them to be able to vote both in PA elections and Israeli elections? Why hasn't the PA had an election in 12 years? Mahmoud Abbas is a dictator of the PA that uses the money and the aid that we give him to enrich himself. Mahmoud Abbas. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on, but I thought he was democratically elected. So why don't you guys have students against the Palestinian Authority, not students against Israel? The Palestinian Authority.
Palestinian Authority isn't holding guns against Palestinian children.
Palestinian Authority was democratically elected 12 years ago. Mahmoud Abbas has not had any checks and measures against him. In Nablus, he lives in a 25,000 square foot mansion. Here's the bottom line: is that Arabs are better served under Israeli government than under the Palestinian Authority government. Arabs are. I'm sorry, what? Wait, I'm sorry, what?
When they're in the ground dead, that's where a majority of Palestinians end up.
What are you? A majority of Palestinians end up dead? How dare you say something like that? There's 15.5 million people that live in the Palestinian Authority. Half of them end up dead? So you're trying to tell me that 7.5 million Palestinians have been killed?
This is live and direct, showing how people distort information and just use words that literally exaggerate things to the 10th degree, so that when people put them in check and hold them accountable for what they're saying because it means something, they can't say anything.
Is that what you're trying to say?
7.5 million live in that. I've never seen that number.
Well, it's actually 50.5 million is if you count the PA and Israel together. You're right. It's more 6 million in Palestinian Authority, 9.5 million in Israel proper. So it's about 15 combined. So 6 million. So you're trying to tell me 3 million people have been killed? 3 million people have been killed by the IDF? That's not even close to being true. So let me ask.
Listen to me. There's a difference between Zionism and anti-Semitism.
Then build it out for me.
You don't support the state of Israel doesn't mean.
So let me get this straight. You don't hate Jews. You just hate the Jews' right to exist in their homeland.
You're not even Jewish. You can't speak for people who are Jews.
Okay.
Wait, hold on a second.
You're not black. You want me to exist, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that
Hold on, what? Did you just say you're not even Jewish? You can't speak on behalf of them? Bro, what? Are you kidding me? My favorite allies in this world are those who are not Jewish. The Christians that speak up, the Catholics that speak up, the Arabs that speak up, the Muslims that speak up. Anyone who believes in Israel's right to defend themselves and exist, I love you. And you don't have to be Jewish. In fact, the ones that aren't Jewish are the ones that I like even more. Why? I'm not comparing them because I'm saying I like Jews less. What I am saying is our word seems to have zero validation in the world. No one likes to listen to us. It's worthless, apparently. So you know what we need to do is we need to rely on our allies' voices to help us. And somebody who has been to the Middle East, who has visited Israel, is allowed to talk about this.
That's one of the worst identity politics arguments. Just because I'm not something, it doesnn't make me wrong.
No, you're not. It's apartheid state of Israel.
That's not in line with conservative politics.
How so?
Because there is no separation of church and state.
Let me ask you a question. Why can Christians freely practice their religion in Israel, but Jews can't freely practice their religion in the Palestinian Authority?
How are Jews not
practicing it?
What happens if an Israeli citizen goes into a Bethlehem? What happens if a Jew goes into Bethlehem? If a Muslim goes into Jerusalem, they can go to a mosque. That's what happens.
Do you know what happens at Al-Aqsa? Do you know what happens?
Al-Aqsa Mosque?
People are turned away because they can't pray in their own place.
Well, hold on a second. They have full access to Al-Aqsa Mosque. I was there myself. I was around 500 Muslims on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Hold on a second. Jews' heads are cut off in Hebron if they go to Hebron. Jews and Israelis are not allowed in Palestinian Authority.
Look at these people. Overly emotional, whoa, overly emotional, underly informed. Overly emotional, underly informed. They're taking these concentrated events that they see of somebody on TikTok, and I've seen them before, who try to go into the Al-Aqsa Mosque and they get denied without context. You know what one thing to keep in mind is when Ramadan comes around, more security goes up. I wonder why that is. There's a cause and effect to everything. There are historically periods when Ramadan occurs. The old city of Jerusalem becomes a more tense place. Do you expect Israel not to have more security to make sure that everybody can go pray in peace? Would you prefer that there's no security? Do you guys prefer that there's no security? It's a free-for-all, Call of Duty, go do your thing and figure it out? Is that what you guys prefer? Security is there for a reason. So these kids, I'm sorry, I usually never lose these overly emotional and underly informed college morons have no clue and connection to the reality here in the Middle East. I'm sick and tired of people acting like they know, because they get emotional. I'm overly emotional, but I'm overly informed too.
So I was in Hebron 3 weeks ago. You know what happened? If a Jew goes to Hebron, their head will get cut off. Okay, so Jews are not allowed in the Temple Mount. You do know that, right?
No, I'm saying Palestinians, Muslims going into Al-Aqsa.
Right. So
Yes.
it's very hotly debated.
No, actually, when
No,
I
it
was
is.
there, I was praying at Al-Aqsa, and I saw IDF soldiers coming in while I was praying.
Did
How
they
do
stop you?
explain that?
Did they stop you from praying?
They throw like tear gas.
No, they don't. Not the Al-Aqsa Mark. Did they stop you from praying?
I shouldn't be in fear while
But they don't do what you say they're doing. I'm just telling you, it's not true. Did they? But I don't think you're representing
I
reality.
was literally there.
So let me ask you a question.
She wasn't there, that wasn't happening, but she understood that it was happening in other times around that moment.
I
I've
was there. You should not be able to prove your religion. You should be able, if a Muslim
Okay,
wants
that's
to-
a really interesting point. So Jews should be allowed on the Temple Mount because the Muslims don't allow them on the Temple Mount right now. So Jordanian control the
But
Temple Mount.
It was since the Prophet Muhammad. It was there since the Prophet
Oh,
Muhammad.
okay, so do you think? Here's the thing. So do you think Jews should be allowed on the Temple Mount?
It's a.
So you don't think it's a Temple Mount? Because if you do, that's the very interesting thing. If you just say it's a Temple Mount, I'm putting you admittedly in a very difficult position because Muslims do not recognize it as the Temple Mount.
Right, they recognize it as their place of worship, and it's been that way since the beginning.
No, it's been the Temple Mount since King David. Thank you very much. So, I mean, you could say whatever you wanted to say. It's a huge point. It's actually it's one of the biggest inhibitions of peace. I think that Jews and Muslims and Christians should all be allowed to go to the Temple Mount. Right now, Muslims do not allow Jews to go into the Temple Mount. One rabbi is allowed to go in once a year. That's it. That's the treaty. Why is that? How is that fair? Why are Jews not allowed to go? But I mean, Muslims are allowed to go to their holy sites. You just said you were allowed to go.
Okay, but some people doesn't mean that other people aren't allowed to go.
And if that's the case, then I'll totally denounce it. But you are a living example that you were allowed to go.
I've got no words. I've got no words. I have no words. College students, my fellow American college students who really don't know what they're talking about. I'm volunteering once again, my time and my money to fly you out to Israel so you can come see it for yourself. I'll buy you a ticket. I'll get you a nice cab all the way from the airport to Al-Aqsa if you want. And then since you're so concerned about the Palestinians in Gaza and what Israel's occupying, I'll buy you a taxi all the way down to the border. I'll get you a phone and a SIM card so you can call me when you cross into the Gaza border and tell me how it is on the other side. Please let me know. That brings us to today's Hebrew word of the day. Ooh, which is a word that a lot of you, it's literally there in English, Italia, which means Italy in Hebrew. Thank you so much for all of your support. Please stick around. I have one more thing. If you believe in me and what I'm doing and you want to help this platform grow, your help is needed. You can support right now through PayPal or buy me a coffee. But the best way to support is to join my Patreon, The Inner Circle. You'll get incredible perks, bonus content, and you will help this channel stay alive. Oh, and you have to join our Discord. It is free with people from literally all over the world. And that's it. I appreciate every bit of support. Thank you for being on this journey with me.